This is the Sick'em Podcast. The Sick'em Podcast is a production of Baylor Athletics. Now, here are your hosts, Brooke Bednarz and the voice of the Bears, John Morris.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Sick'em Podcast, a production of Baylor Athletics. We're glad you're with us this week. John Morris, Brooke Bednarz, and how about a little spring football? How about some Baylor football as the Bears wrap up spring drills this Saturday, the green and gold game at McLean Stadium. And, Brooke, we have head coach Dave Aranda with us on the Sick'em Podcast this week. Yes. Coach, welcome.
Hey, it's good to be here. It's good to be with you guys again.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Spring going well. I know you still have some things you want to get done with the game coming up and a couple more practices this week.
Yeah, impressed with our improvement, impressed with the work ethic, not only from the coaches but the players, and just how the team has come together and the energy. I thought the energy on the sideline was really impressive, and we're looking to take that next step.
Number one, it's nice to have spring.
I was about to say, let's not skip over that.
Right.
Let's just talk about you guys are on the field. We're talking about a spring game. Last time this year, we were all at home, and you were trying to get to know everybody via Zoom.
It's a big difference. Actually this week, it was Saturday, I think. We were looking, in our recruiting department, one of our girls was bringing up a text that was from a year ago, and going through all the struggles that her and her friends were going through, and just trying to get out of the house and trying to see people, and that was kind of a take you back moment right there, because where we're at right now in the ability to have face-to-face meetings and to have instruction, on the field, and to we're aiming to meet our players' parents. Our coaching staff's going to meet our players' parents for the first time, since they've been here, and then we're hoping to meet with some former players here on Friday. So all of these things, which would be normal activities, so we're not in the normal space yet, but we're kind of inching towards it. It's always good to remember kind of what it's been and where you're coming from, to put things in perspective. But certainly happy where we're at.
It's almost like for you, just your second year on the job, but it's almost like this is the start, isn't it? Some of these things that you would have done a year ago you couldn't do, and now you're finally able to do them.
Yeah, I think, last year I felt like a stepdad in a lot of ways, and, it was hard. I think it was hard for the players, I'm sure, because, losing and then just being separated. There's guys that were contact traced, and so they'd be quarantined for how long, and then get back in it, and so there'd be a procedure you'd have to go through to get back on the field, and then a couple of days later find that they do have COVID, so now they're isolated. And so just to go through all of that with just the outcomes that we had, and so I feel for that on their side of it, just the trying to get to the year previous, and then for me, right, trying to get the real connections and to get the that team feel was always just such a struggle, because you'd want it to be something, and you'd work really hard, and you could feel that it just wasn't as much as you tried. And so I don't know, I've not been a stepdad, but I empathize with others, and I could see that it could be like that, where you just want to have that connection or that feeling or that recognition, mm-hmm. and you just, it hasn't been earned yet, And so I can remember in December talking with some of the staff about, let's continue on the track we're on, right? I think there's such a heavy weight that everybody's under, right? When we come on back, the hope is that this weight will be lifted, and people can see kind of how they've been treated and kind of what the environment really is. And so I feel like that's been the case. And so to have that type of connection, and then, like you're saying, like the last year, just the history of all the good and bad, and trying to treat people good regardless of it, I think kind of has a foundation that you can build a trust and a shared commitment for. an upcoming successful season. So we're in that process.
Well, how are you feeling now? Now that you have a spring, now that you're in person, you're out on the field, and you're getting to kind of continue to build on that foundation that you mentioned a little bit, that it wasn't 100% perfect, but now you're there and you're getting to, hopefully feel more father-esque, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I feel really good. I think the staff meets. So, like, say for example, and these were things that from last year was instructive for me for this year, and so I think we have 3 staff meets a week, and so the middle one on Wednesday is going to be just a cultural one. It's going to be one on this is how we think of this. This is how we respond to failure. This is how we look at adversity. This is how we treat other people. And there'll be examples and maybe clips from social media or movie clips or something to kind of illustrate it. And then I'll have team meetings twice a week or 3 times a week with coinciding with our practices, and there will be cultural things in there. And then I meet with the newcomers, like today will be our young guys, and so like our COVID guys that came during, so there's a fair amount that just did not get the kind of the welcoming that you'd like, and their parents getting the welcoming that you like when they came last year, and so they're included in the freshman group from this year. So I meet with them once a week, and we talk about just the how-yous. So this is like how you prepare for a test. This is how you treat people in the training room. This is how you work through, the football building in terms of, your dress and your language, in terms of, thank you, yes sir, no sir, and so and then like today we're going to be talking about the inner voice, like a strong voice and a weak voice when things are going bad, right? Talking negatively, negative self-talk and positive self-talk. So we meet with our young guys once a week, and then I meet with the leadership council. There's about 10 of those. I meet with those once a week, and then that's going to be a separate discussion, but similar. But that one's going to be more of what leadership is, and really almost kind of what my journey has been, right? And so I can speak to it from a pretty humble humble start of like things that I've learned and things that I've come to believe, and things that I see now, and kind of a path forward, And so we talk about becoming leaders because we've got great kids, and we've got good players, and they're smart, and they've got good hearts, but that doesn't make them a good leader, So you have to work at it. It's a skill, and so we're working on it, But I think I don't know however many meetings those are, those are things that I think are a reflection of last year and a reflection of kind of what's needed to build off of a foundation to get this thing going.
Well, it sounds like that's a continuation of the person over player mentality that you guys started, and is going into a little bit more detailed of the Baylor standard, if you want to explain kind of what that is.
Yeah, so we talk about class and integrity. And so, like, for me, if like class would be something that you know it when you see it. And so it'd be kindness. It would be politeness, like we talked about, like, yes, sir, no, sir, please, thank you. It would be, so like one great example would be, I know at a previous school, we had an academic meeting, and there was one player that had a phone call, and so prior to taking the call, he asked the advisor, "I'm sorry, sir, I have a phone call. Can I be excused to take the call?" Just something like that. I can't tell you how many times I have heard that story on that player. He's playing in the NFL right now, and so we've brought up a bunch of examples of just different what people get a lot of times are just snapshots of you, whether that's good or bad. That a lot of people's experiences, that's what it is. So you never really know kind of when those snapshots are coming, and so you just want to be at your best and really show off really who you are and, you know, who your mom and dad know who you are. And I think that's a skill, you know. And I see football being a way that we can improve that. And I don't, you know, so like I think there's a fair amount of folks that can work on mastery of craft, and then the self can be improved on kind of when we're up to it or when the season's over. But I think, you know, to work on mastery of self through craft, I think is what can make us different. And I think, you know, so that there is no difference between on and off the field. Then integrity is saying, you know, if we have a standard like that, is, you know, living up to that standard. So what you say you do is what you do, and you know, it's hard. That's a tall order. You know, the hardest thing about having a standard is that you are the standard, right? You embody that, and you know, I think, you know, just to be that person that you want to be, I think so many choices come in. Right? So we talk about our players, you know. Here's all these things that come in. They really come down to two things. Here's something I know I'm supposed to do. I don't want to do it. Can you make yourself do it? Right? Here's something you know you're not supposed to do. Can you keep yourself from it? And so I think like continually talking in those terms, you know, with the thought being that the stronger the character, the better the person, right? The character is going to drive your day-to-day process. So like all the things that we're asking to do in terms of making appointments and in terms of being accountable and in terms of creating good relationships so that there is a feeling of team and a feeling of community and of being responsible. All of that is driven by character. So character drives the process, and then, you know, your process, how strong that is, that drives results. And so I think, you know, getting everyone on the same page and working that way, it's been fun. So I enjoy the days, and I enjoy our people.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Visit Texas Farm Bureau Insurance today at tfbinsurance.com for an agent you can trust with life's most important decisions. Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Whether on the field or cheering from home, Du Bois Furniture is proud to support the Baylor Bears. If your bear cave needs updating, Du Bois Furniture is here to help. With over 59 years of our family serving yours, let our experienced sales team help you find exactly what you want. We specialize in custom upholstery, stunning dining rooms, elegant bedrooms, gorgeous leather, and top quality mattresses. Come see us in Waco and Temple or visit us online at DuBoisFurniture.com. Du Bois Furniture, where beautiful homes happen.
You're listening to the Sick'em Podcast, a production of Baylor Athletics. Here again are Brooke Bednarz and John Morris.
Continuing with head coach Dave Aranda, Baylor football head coach on the Sick'em Podcast. You talked about Brooke's question about the Baylor football standard. What about, we've heard you say, we know who we are, and I think folks will hear that from you more over the course of, you know, from now through this season. Explain the message behind that.
So I think, you know, simple can be sophisticated, and I think, you know, I think football-wise, there's going to be different. You know, I think, like most things, that it is there could be a wide array of opinions and views on this. I've always been one of you know, execution and of, you know, energy and of knowing where your help is and all that, as opposed to, you know, we have. When I talk to the staff about this, I've talked to them a couple times about it. There's one example. I found this clip on TikTok. I saw, or my girls have got me on TikTok.
Yeah.
So I watched this clip, and so it's a soccer game, and it's a little girls' game. And there is one girl that's clearly skilled, and she's kind of moving through the team. And there's a dad that's by the goalie, and the goalie there's a little girl. So the goalie is looking off into space, and the star soccer girl kicks it. And the dad kind of, I guess, pushes the goalie. She pushes and she falls in and stops the kick.
Oh, wow.
Right? So it deflects, and
Right.
so it doesn't go in. And so I use that as an example of so much of football is that.
Huh.
Right? Is just like, hey, I got this as a coach. I'm going to call the right play. Right? Hey, I got it. Right? And so like designing this, designing that, right? And kind of players are pawns. Right, and not even really people, but they're just kind of, I'm gonna move these pieces, right, like that. And so the that would not be ideal. That would not be who we are. So and I think there are ripples from that, and there's a wake from last year with some of that. There's too much of that, and then I think going into that meeting, or the flip side of that TikTok video would be, we showed Dave Roberts when he was with the Red Sox. I forget what year it is, the year they won the World Series, and it's the bottom of the ninth, and Mariano Rivera is on the mound, and there's a walk, and Roberts goes in and subs out the guy that's at first, and the Yankees know, the Red Sox know why they subbed him out. Mm-hmm. The whole Fenway Park knows. Joe Buck and all these people are saying he's there to steal second. So like everybody knows this dude is there to steal second base, and there's however many throws back to first, and Robert steals second, right, and then gets, I think the next guy knocks him in, and then Ortiz, right, closes it out in extra innings with a dinger. Wow. And so like just that's the goal. Is no one, so like simple would be like when you can perform it under the most stressful and pressurized situations, right? Otherwise, what's the point, right, of learning this or learning that, or of a play? If a play is just kind of an entry-level play, but it's not something that can be executed when it matters most, then what's the point of it? And so I think that's where, like, so there's always rabbit holes you can go into, but to go into a rabbit hole from simple, right, where guys can, like, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, right, this is the technique we're doing it, and where everything's understood, and we talk about playing green, playing yellow, and playing red. Red is what stops you, what breaks you. Yellow is kind of cautious, kind of, I don't know, let's see. And green is go. And so where you could get it, where you can just play green in tough situations is the goal. And I think simple allows you to do that.
I love that. I love that. I'm kind of speechless.
Yeah.
I was just
Great
so caught up in the explanation and thinking about those different dynamics and just truly knowing, who you are and how that's going to be evident on the field for all of Baylor fans and everyone to see. So we'll go into the details of the spring game a little bit later, but I'm excited for everyone to have that opportunity before the fall to get to see kind of what you guys have been working on, what you've been talking about. But let's kind of go down into the defense and offense. Defense, you guys have a lot. I think it's like 22 who have had snaps and who are returning, several starters on that side of the ball. But the offense has a couple of new faces. You have a new offensive coordinator, new O-line coach, etc. How have you seen that offense kind of, push the defense that was already there, that kind of carried you guys last year? And how are the two kind of melding together this year to make one cohesive Baylor Bear football team?
No, good question. Yeah, I think starting from a big man perspective, and I think so way back in December when there was, I know there's a fair amount of questions now. There was more in December. I can remember that time. And so just sitting back there, I know like the identity wanted to be from big people, right? Let's let big people lead this thing, right? And I think that has not been And I don't think it's not for lack of trying. I'll say that, because I think like not knowing Coach Rule all that well, but just knowing he's a football guy and toughness and all that, right, to try to get it. And I think, on O and D, where the O line, it runs through them, and for defense, it runs through the D line. And I think when you can get that, I think that completely changes your team. And I think there is a toughness that's inherent. There's nothing that you have to try to pretend to be or manufacture. You can just execute, you know. But I think there is a belief that has to be there, and there is a confidence that comes with daily execution, you know. And so I think that's where it starts. And so like the hiring of this and that all kind of leads to, or all stems from that piece. And so I think like offensively, like running the wide zone, and it allows O linemen to run off the ball. And so there's not, I think in the Big 12 there's so many different front structures, different twist stunts. There's probably more movement in the front seven or in that box area than any other league. And I think I think it stems from recruiting, where we're getting really good players, and everyone in our league is getting really good players, but whereas I think in some other leagues there's a dude that comes in as a freshman and he's 3-something, right? In our league, he gets to 3-something by the time he's a junior or a senior. And so the developmental part, I think, creates an area for twists, stunts, pressures, and those things until they get to where they got, and if they can ever get to that piece with guys coming and going. And so I think, the end result is it's just a bunch of crap right in there, right? And so to have to push the line of scrimmage vertical makes it where offensively you have to make a lot of calls. Because is this guy coming? Is that guy coming? Are they twisting? Do I have to zone it? Can I push? Because what you want, if it's inside zone, you want 2-on-1. You want this. But if you're doing 2-on-1 and this dude to your right is singled and that guy moves, plays over, right? And so, we can look at last year for quite a bit of that. And so I think when it's a wide zone, you're running off the ball and just think of it as a huge wave, just kind of taking whatever comes and just crashing down upon it. And I think I think it's a huge play in the NFL. You look at BYU, and they had a ton of success, and they ended up seeing everything, and we're just kind of picking it up and just and moving it through. And so we've seen that, in spring, and probably not as consistent as you'd want it, but to feel like the thing is building and there's confidence and guys are learning with an improved defensive line as well, with an addition of some guys. I think it's been good showing on offense, and so excited for that. Along with that comes the play action pass, and so once people, I think like when I think of the SEC, I think of that as being a D lineman league, just like we talked about. They can recruit this dude, and he just like a Javion Clowney, or you can go on and on with just those types of guys. I look at our league as a safety league. I think whether it's TCU, I think of Baylor with Petrie. I think of Oklahoma State. I think of these guys where their safeties are at 9 yards and it's just 9-man boxes and everyone's in the run fit. So guys are just there's not, whereas in other leagues maybe there's a deep middle field safety, and there's kind of in our league, like everyone, they're all the chess pieces are in.
Yeah,
there's
they're
no,
right there.
And especially with us, we kind of invited that look, and so there's last year. So I think the ability to run the ball and get those overhangs kind of biting opens up the big playability. So like Tyquan Thornton's had a great spring. Jackson Gleason's had a great spring. R.J. Sneed's doing R.J. type stuff still. And so the play action pass, the max protection, and the one-on-one shots, which is what we're going to have to beat in this league. because they're going to put everybody else in the box. And so all that's been good. I think there's a belief and there's a confidence that's got to be grown continually, in spite of failure, in spite of missed goals or whatever it is. As you go through it, we got to keep building because it's going to be good.
Well, and with that new offense and things of that nature, you also have a new quarterback. Mm-hmm. And right now what we've been hearing is that it's a completely open competition between the four, Bohannon and Zeno and Blake Shapen, who decided to focus on football instead of also doing baseball. And then Drones, an early enrollee from Shadow Creek, where they won that state championship. So how are you, thinking about them, and how are you liking what you're seeing from that competition?
Yeah, I appreciate. Right when I think of the quarterbacks, I think of Sean Bell. I think Sean's done a great job. I think he's attacked the role as quarterback coach. I think he's come alive, and that was we go back to December. That was kind of the thought, is that he'd really attack this, and he has, and there's a great energy with him. So I'm happy for him, and I'm excited to kind of see what comes. I think he's managing and motivating those guys, and I think. What a great group of quarterbacks, guys that, continually they're celebrating with each other. And, I know that Sean's preaching it, and so it's every day. And so, if Gary makes a big throw, right, Zeno's right there, Blake's over there, Kyron, all of them. And so that the C guys, and so that bleeds over to the offense. And then I think, the team sees that, and we celebrate that when we see it. And so I think there's, within the competition, which is it's real, there is a great compassion for each other when stuff's not going good, and a great energy for guys when stuff is going good. And so I think everyone feels like they can be themselves and attack that day. But when you look at like Gary's the play action pass piece and his arm really shines. I think when he's out of the pocket, he can come alive. I think with Zeno, when he's in the pocket and he's having to make quick decisions and reads, I think he's pretty good. And I think he's got a great ability to anticipate and read coverages. And then you look at Blake, and Blake has some of the qualities that Gary has, along with Zeno. And so there's times where, when we're kind of moving fast and we're in a tempo look, Blake really comes alive when he's out of the pocket and can kind of get creative. There's sidearm throws at times. His arm is a lively one. And then I think with Kyron is just a great, great athlete. He's got probably one of the, if not the strongest arm, and then his ability to process has been really good. And you're talking about a guy that's getting, with the other guys getting reps. Kyron's getting his, and he's making the most of it because he's showing up. I thought this Saturday was one of his better days, and so excited for that. I think all of that makes whoever we get to win that thing is going to have come through the fire, and so you appreciate that.
Those are four good candidates, and there's so much spotlight on that position. In your mind, would you like to name a starter at the end of spring, start a fall camp? What's your thinking there?
Yeah, usually in my experience, it's been a couple weeks into fall camp to kind of give it a true, there's been these last 2 weeks, really two good scrimmages. Really looking forward to this next one, and let's see. Maybe that thought changes. I think it's all dependent on what it is, kind of where it's at. And so you for me, just not making it something that it needs to be, but making something that it should be. But I feel like, once you kind of know, and so I think those guys, all of them, I think are so intent on performing well this Saturday that it takes you out of those big picture things. So it's a good thing,
right?
Because it brings you back in just the process. And so I really feel the way they're handling this and the way they're attacking it is a good model for our team.
It's a calling that's kept us free. It's a place to belong. What's the calling? It's doing a job that makes a difference. Serving your community and your country. It's part-time service where the impact is full-time. What's your calling? Air Force Reserve. AFReserve.com.
If you need a trailer, Flat Rock Trailers has got you covered. From light-duty single-axle utility trailers to the Big Tex tandem duals. We also carry a full line of enclosed cargo trailers. Need a motorcycle trailer? We've got them. Need a dump trailer? We've got the largest selection in the state. Oilfield trailers? We carry a full line of Big Tex trailers to handle all your needs. Trailer repairs? We repair all makes and models. We'll even rent you a trailer if you need to use one for a day. Flat Rock Trailers, your #1 source for all your trailer needs. Find us at flatrocktrailers.com.
TNG can, and here's why. To say my wife and I have a lot to clean is an understatement. So we go to TNG Chemical, where the pros know what cleaning solutions to use and give us detailed instructions on exactly how to use them. We never got that kind of advice from any other stores. And the prices at TNG are great. From general household cleaners to odor control solutions for our pets. We go to TNG Chemical and Supply. That's why. TNG Chemical and Supply. That's why.
You're listening to the Sick'em Podcast, a production of Baylor Athletics. Here again are Brooke Bednarz and John Morris.
You're tuned into the Sick'em Podcast, a production of Baylor Athletics. Head coach Dave Aranda is with us. Baylor football spring game coming up, green and gold game coming up this Saturday, noon at McLean Stadium. What can you tell us about the format of the game? Have you decided on that yet?
Yeah, so it'll be green versus gold, and so we'll get 2 different teams. And then I think quarterback-wise, we'll work it out since there is a competition. Well, they'll work back between the green and the gold, so we won't have guys. So it'll be green and gold for most everybody, but except the quarterback. Okay. So they can get with both groups. And so excited for that. I think we'll have a scoring system on defense where, tackles for losses and sacks and those. And so I think like the ability to really see consistent drives, in the past, these last 2 scrimmages, we've had like, hey, here's a 10-play block, right? And so if an offense were to go 3 and out, you're back at it and go again. And, once you've hit that 10-play mark, right, let's play it out till it finishes. So there's, in a way, it kind of highlights the offense because the defense could get, by that 10th play, kind of worn out, I've taken some body shots. And so to see where we're just going to actually play it, put the ball down, and let's get a drive, and let's see where it ends. I think I'm excited for that. And so, these last 2 weeks, we've really upped the competition piece. So like today, we have a fair amount of competition in our practice, and then aiming to have that as well at the end of the week, and so that they're always feeling like it matters the most now, and let's perform. We kind of dove into the offense and specifics of that. I was at the scrimmage on this past Saturday, and as soon as I walked in, I just heard the roar from the defensive side. They were fired up, and there really wasn't even anything going on. They were just pumped. How evident has that development on that side of the ball been? You mentioned there are some impactful transfers into that group, but just kind of, Coach Roberts even was quoted saying that last year, he kind of felt like they were at ground zero coming in. Mm-hmm. And now he said, at least we're at the 50-yard line. Mm-hmm. We're moving forward. We're at the 50. That's kind of where this spring has been. So moving from the 50-yard line forward, to continue with his analogy, what are your vision on that, and how are you seeing that continue to develop? Yeah, so I think in a similar way to the offense, if we pull it all the way back, it would be having an identity, knowing who you are, and so that would be a 3-4 structure. That would be 2 high safeties, in a balanced look, and then getting to whatever you want to get to from that look. And so playing, quarters, playing 3 deep as primary coverages. And so, really kind of allowing. So Ron's done a great job of limiting and minimizing install so that we could really focus on execution. So, like, number one goal was to know where your help is, right? And number 2 goal was to win your one-on-ones. And number 3 was to don't flinch. When adversity hits, which we know is going to hit, don't flinch and keep pushing, knowing that you're going to come out on top. And so I think, knowing where your help is allows you to play fast, right? Trust is inherent in there, right? If I'm going to do my 111th, I've got to trust that my partner is going to do his, and he's going to be where he needs to be. And then to win your one-on-one, whether it's a pass rush or it's a one-on-one with a receiver, is executing that and being counted on to do that. And I think it all comes back to that Dave Roberts stealing second base. It's that, right? As opposed to, hey, here's this pressure to kind of hopefully get them away from running this play because we can't stop it. Or here's this coverage that hopefully gets them away from this route because we can't execute our base against it. And that would be the soccer dad, And so I think the ability to get people where we can align with or have some energy about us, have an edge, and we're respecting everybody, but we ain't fearing anybody. And then most importantly, be able to execute. I think like the edge is tied to that execution, right? There is no edge without execution. And so I think, to really focus in on that on defense has been the difference. We looked at for a lot of the good from last year on defense, and there was, I think, there was a fair amount, though, of just unsettledness, maybe late calls, not knowing personnel, maybe guys taking a long time to communicate because a call goes in. What is this again? And all of that. And so to get it to where, like right now, cleats are in the grass, eyes are straight ahead, and it's predator mode, man. And so that's fun to watch. It's cool to see. I think the addition of Apu Aika has been a really strong one. I think Apu's got a great heart, is a great person. You guys, once you guys get around him, you guys are going to love him. Just very unique, strong personality, good dude, and a great player. And, he's 3, whatever. He probably doesn't want me saying it.
He's listed at 350.
He's a big guy.
Yes. And so he cannot, I think he's going to be a problem for most folks. And so I think linebacker-wise, like those guys love it because of just their, it's like driving in the fast lane without having a pass necessarily, right? Is what they're able to do in the freeway. And so I think like the ability Apu has, right, is anytime we get in a 5-man look and they offensive line goes 5 for 5 blocking, it's a mismatch. And if they turn, they try to so they can't pick them up, blocking them one-on-one, so they slide the protection one way. Well, now you got Petrie coming off this edge. Now you have a jack linebacker coming off the other edge. And so, I think we've created a move which allows us a base counter move, which is always anytime the counters that are coming to you are in your base arsenal, you're playing on your own terms. So that's where it's at.
As Brooke mentioned earlier, 10 starters back on defense, and you say how they're able to react,
Yes.
and eyes straightforward predator mode.
Yes.
Isn't that what you'd hope, what you'd expect
Yes.
in the second year of
Yes.
this defense?
Yes. We talked the other day about just like, the ability to have a call and just the cycle of a play and kind of how the thought process goes once you get the call, right, and the communication it takes. So for me, being on the field during the scrimmages and hearing the communication is all you really need to know.
Yeah.
Like you don't even really need to see the play because you could just hear it. Like it's so strong, right? When there's a motion adjusts or they're shifting the front, or the offense lines up in this, and Petrie's going, here comes this, and and so just all of that. They are on it.
Wow.
And so it's impressive to see, and And that's a group that doesn't have Terrell Bernard out there yet.
Right.
And so once we get Terrell, it adds up a fair amount of notches. And so excited for where they're going.
And we should let everybody know
let's remind everybody.
Right. He's just sitting out to be 100%. He'll be ready to go in the fall.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love that. Good to have him back. I know we did that story with him last time and how he kind of took that coaching role on for Abram Smith, which is exactly what Clay Johnson had done for him when they kind of, continued that line of sliding into that starting slot. Are you seeing that from him right now? You talked about developing a leader. While he's medically cleared but still kind of holding back a little bit, are you seeing that from him?
Yes, yeah. So his, he has got a great view and perspective, just naturally. I think he sees it that way. I think, Terrell's going to have a long career in the NFL, but I feel like he's going to be a coach at some point, just because his perspective takes him there. I think there's certain people that will see it kind of small, and there's other people that see it big, and he sees it big. He sees how everything's connected and kind of it flows from this, and this is why that, and all that. And so just in the past, guys that have seen it like that kind of tend to at least try out coaching. And so just him being on the sideline, he can pick stuff up. And so, in terms of guys playing free, or in terms of we've got to see this better, or in terms of effort, right? And so he carries such respect and weight that is really better if he says it than if we say it. And so I'm appreciative of the fact that he does. And so I think it just builds cohesion, and it builds a unity, man. And I think, having him in the leadership group, and then having him to speak his mind on things that he believes, all that's real. And when he brings that to the grass with the guys, I think it only adds to his importance and his stature.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Visit Texas Farm Bureau Insurance today at tfbinsurance.com to insure your home for Texas-size weather. Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
This is the Sick'em Podcast. Here again are Brooke Bednarz and John Morris.
Baylor head football coach Dave Aranda, our guest on the Sick'em Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, download wherever you get your podcast, on Apple, on Spotify. It's on the Baylor website at BaylorBears.com. And, Coach, one thing new I think that you're doing now is reaching out, making contact with former players. Letterman of Baylor football. I know Saturday after the scrimmage, you were on the phone with Jeff Gandy and Doak Field, two really great linebackers from Baylor's past. That's got to be – I know it's cool for them to hear from you. It's got to be great for you also to have that touch point to the past.
Yeah, I wish we would have done it sooner. And, but, I look back, like last year there's so many – we were working through so much stuff. But I think from their perspective – just not having been reached out to, last year we were really good, and then what happened this year? Like, who's this guy, and what happened? And so like if I was a former player, I would be thinking that, and so I just think like I'm so proud of our people here and what we're doing, or really more importantly how we're doing it, is that I'd really wanted to be able to share that with them and let them know that, they're welcome here. We want them to be around, right? I know COVID, and once we get to a spot where they're comfortable and all of it, but to be mentors to our players, and then to be just links to the past. I think for me, just to build relationships with those guys, and because there's things that I can say that they've lived, and for them to say it, it's just so much. It carries so much weight, and I think, I on top of all of that, I just love talking to former players because it's just, they miss it so much, and I think that's probably the hidden gem in all of it is that some of our guys don't know kind of how good they got it. And so when you're talking to former players and they've got the ability to kind of express what they're feeling, that comes out right away. And so it's a good reminder.
Well, even Saturday, the scrimmage this past Saturday, Robin Big Cat Jones was there. I know you talked to him, and Tracy Miller was there. And it's great to have those guys back, in the fold, just a part of, they're part of the foundation of Baylor football. And I think they're getting together on Friday, right? There's a Friday deal before the Green and Gold game this week. Yeah,
we'll have a Gridiron Social, and so we'll have our coaches up there with a fair amount of guys. And so Walter Abercrombie has done a great job kind of organizing that. And so we'll have some food and drink. It'll be nice we'll get all the quarterbacks together and get all the linebackers together and get all the linemen together. I think it'd be good. I think, for them to know kind of who we are and the values that we got and kind of how we're building it. And then for us to get to know, to better know the history and the struggles and our former players' story, I think is strong because that's the complete us, and so it's important to see that.
It's really neat to kind of get to talk with you and hear about you building that foundation, and we'll give you some slack because last year there was a lot going on. So the fact that you're doing it now, that's a great thing. Learning all that foundation and really getting to meet with all of them. But it kind of comes off of the, right after we just talked about here on the podcast, the foundation of the men's basketball team. And that was evident in that parade with how many, former players came back to celebrate in that moment with them. You can feel that excitement. And so to have those players come here and to be able to celebrate with you guys ahead of this spring game, celebrate the fact that there is a spring game and that you guys are, moving forward in that right direction. You have to be pretty proud that you're here at Baylor where that family feeling is so evident.
Yeah, Walter's done a great job really connecting with guys and David Wetzel's done a great job there too. And so I appreciate their efforts. And, if we can get it to where we've got guys coming around and they're comfortable in coming up to me and just being around so our players can see them and just the stories and the hardships and the lessons they've learned, I think the more that we can see football as a platform to show who you are as a person, I think, the better off we'll be. And I think, that's a whole perspective that I think, we're really working hard to get everybody on. And I think the former players can really help with that because I think it's easier when you're away from it, right? And so when you're in it, sometimes the view gets narrow, but to have their bigger perspective will be big.
All right, let's wrap up with this. You and your family were in Indianapolis. You watched the men's basketball team win the national championship. What's that's a huge accomplishment for not just Baylor basketball, but for Baylor athletics and Baylor University. How does the positivity of that translate over to football?
No, huge. Yeah, huge. And so so for me, it's just first of all, just so happy for Coach Drew, Coach Tang, just that we need more people that are good dudes winning at that level, winning, right? And so just guys that are humble and have got good hearts and are servants winning. We need more of them. And so I think that's one. And 2 would be like that you could have class and you can have integrity and you could do stuff the right way, talk the right way, do it the right way, and then still win. You don't have to make a decision on one or the other. And then I think just all that comes with that, right? The examples of that, whether it's stories or whether it's, I want to say, so we were there and we were leaving Tuesday morning, come on back. And was it Butler? I think he was doing Good Morning America or something.
Yeah,
so
Jared Butler.
Yeah, so we're packing, and he talked about, how they're up and how they never look at the scoreboard and how we just keep playing until it's done. And so like this would be an example. These would be things that we talk about all the time, but it's so much better coming from him. So I remember I'm trying to find, like my son Ronan, I'm trying to find where's his shoes to put it in a thing, and I saw it, and right away I'm thinking we have to find that because we're going to use that in the meeting tonight or later today, and so we did, But I think so. There's just the examples of. I don't think the path is very hard, but I think it's difficult to. It's not like you got to add stuff. You got to strip away stuff. Right, all the habits that don't benefit you. You got to take that away. It's not like you got to add stuff to get there. And so I think the more that we can show kind of things that we're saying that they're universal things really, and we can get guys to strip away some of these bad habits, we'll be good.
Yeah.
Coach Tang is serious about calling a play Saturday. Now you offered that, and he's not going to let that go.
Yeah, he was. It's funny you say that. He was at practice yesterday, and he was huddling with Coach Grimes.
Right.
So it's on. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's serious about that. Well, we appreciate your time. Thanks very much. It's always great to visit with you, and looking forward to the Green and Gold game coming up on Saturday. It's free and open to the public at noon on Saturday. Thanks very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right. Great to visit with Baylor head football coach Dave Aranda. Here are the details, Brooke. Let's make sure everybody knows on the Green and Gold spring game coming up this Saturday. It is free. It is open to the public. You don't need a ticket. Starts at noon Central Time on Saturday. All guests enter Gate C. The gates open at 11 a.m. There's free parking on site at McLean Stadium, lots 3 and 4.
This one I'm really excited about. Whataburger food truck located outside Gate C. That'll be free for fans while supplies last. So, if you get here right at 11 to get a good seat, when the gates open, there will also be delicious Whataburger.
Nice.
But if you miss that, no worries. Concessions inside the stadium will be open along the 100-level concourse area, as well as Bruiser's locker room and the stadium shop inside the stadium. But if you're unfortunately unable to make it to the game, we have good news. It will be aired on the Baylor Sports Network, presented by Learfield IMG College, as well as streamed live on Big 12 Now on ESPN Plus, with none other than the voice of the Bears calling the game.
We're getting the band back together.
But we do ask, still social distancing in effect. We want to keep everybody safe and healthy, so please bring your mask. And then, as always, when we're at the stadium, there will be a clear bag policy in effect. But, John, you said we're getting the band back together. That carries a lot more than just the crew on the ESPN Plus broadcast, but also the basketball coaches will be there making a special appearance. We got Coach Mulkey as well as the new national championship coaches, Scott Drew and Coach Tang. They will be there to make a special appearance. So it'll be a great day to celebrate everybody, and you can also take part in good things for a good cause if you're interested.
Yeah, the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, they are using this occasion to hold an item collection drive and donate it to the Salvation Army. So, folks, as you're coming into Gate C, beginning at 10 o'clock, they're looking for sunscreen, hats, chapstick, sanitizing wipes, anything like that. There'll be a donation box or barrel or something there at Gate C to donate those. And good work by the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and then the Salvation Army will be the beneficiary of that.
Well, and I think that just continues on for not only preparing champions for life, but feeding into what the basketball team preaches, which is joy, Jesus, others, and then yourself, and then finally, person over player, and being that person with class, with integrity, to where, you don't see a difference between all of our athletes, whether it's on the court, field, track, whatever it is, and then off as well, that they're, really honing into that aspect of, what it means to be a good Baylor student athlete.
Yeah.
So excited for all of you to be able to take part in that as you come. Just a reminder, enter Gate C. It'll open at 11. They have the Whataburger at 11. Free, open to the public, no ticket required. And that is this Saturday at noon. And it is your final opportunity to see the Bears until the fall.
Look forward to that. Thanks to Coach Dave Aranda being on with us on this week's Sikkim podcast. For Coach and for Brooke Bednarz, I'm John Morris. Join us next week with another edition of the Sikkim podcast.
You've been listening to the Sikkim podcast. The Sikkim podcast has been a production of Baylor Athletics.